Hello, hello. Welcome back. So, my name is Sanjay and I just want to talk something interesting today, which I felt was interesting. Okay. So, yeah, since I own a Pulsar 200 NS, I thought I'd talk something about the Bajaj Pulsar and why Bajaj Pulsar is one of the well-known brands in the two-wheeler market segment. Before we get started, we just have to know. I mean, I thought sharing this information might let you know how the brand Pulsar actually came into being. It was actually when the giants, when Hero Honda existed and they had a Splendors, Bajaj that time decided that okay, we will put out a product which will actually compete against Hero. So they realized that they could nowhere eat up that giant since they were known as the mileage segment vehicles for the commuters. And the younger generations are also buying the Splendors because their parents will be like, it gives better mileage. It does the job. Why do you need another vehicle? Why do you have to go to Bajaj when Hero can give you the most reliable engine and highest mileage? So at one point of time in the 1999, oh god, I'm old. In the 1999, CBZ Extreme didn't come. CB Extreme came. CB Extreme. 1 minute. Hero Honda's CBZ came actually into play. So that's when they realized, oh, the younger generation actually wanted something more powerful. That's when Bajaj decided that we will introduce the powerful variant which is driven by male testosterone, and that's where the dialogue came, definitely male. And it was targeted for more of power and more of muscular or aesthetics in that ways, as muscular looks, and something which represented power. So in the year 2001, they introduced the Pulsar 150 series. So in that 150 series, if you see, they completely changed the way on how a two-wheeler in India would look like. Introduction of such bike actually came about a complete change in the market, because now people started seeing vehicle as not just for mileage but also for power and performance. And yes, this is where all is started. I feel from Indian segment that this is where it all started, where the segment of power or more bigger bikes were required for the younger generation. So in 2001, they introduced the 150 cc's. Followed by that, they introduced the 180 cc's also, where they actually had a flatter headlamp but very muscular and very powerful stance in terms of its looks. And they didn't do it on their own. They went to a bike designer. His name is Gleinker, and he has been doing right now till 30 plus years of bike designing, and he's one of the persons who has designed a lot of vehicles out there. And he came down and he actually, as a consultant, designed a bike for Bajaj. And from there on, from 2003, 2000, wait, let me see how many years, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2007 again. Oh yeah, let's stop there. Yeah. In the 2007 is what was a game changer. They actually bought in the Pulsar 220. Until then, they were giving consequent facelifts for the 150cc and the 180 series, but that's where the beauty came. In 2007, they launched two vehicles, which was a Pulsar 200. If people at that time knew what a Pulsar 200 is, they would have known the difference from the 180, where it was a completely different layout, and a 220, which was again a game changer in the market, where none of the competitors were actually coming out with a higher capacity, and these people came for an affordable price in 2007, which completely changed the market. And there was no competition at that time, and it became a huge fan following base. At that point of time, when I drove it, I really felt the stability wasn't there at all, as it was quickly engineered. But After a lot of iterations and a lot of changes, when the Bybri came, the brake compounds actually became better on that vehicle, and it started improving. And the whole image or the brand image of a Pulsar 220, or actually a Pulsar, was enhanced, I feel, from this segment of the 220. And till now, even till now, even though we have the 200 NS, RS and AS, whatever came in between, the 220 still outsold them way better in the market, and it has a huge fan following base for it. So what I actually wanted to talk was, even after small aesthetic updates, it wasn't small, it was very significant aesthetic updates, where they went from a flat tail lamp to an LED, very sharp tail lamp, and the headlamps for the 150. They made sure that the iteration was consistent. They had an idea what direction the Pulsar series was going, and they introduced I think the 135 LS in 2009, that was against their idea of testosterone and definitely male, because this vehicle was actually more of what do you say, it was more of a lower cc segment. It's not definitely connected with the performance variant, but it was targeted towards in between segment, where those people can actually take a small jump from the lower segment or the lower capacity engine to a little bit higher capacity, while keeping the mileage the same. So they try to grab audience, but it was, I mean, I felt like it was a bit tarnished on the Pulsar brand, as the vehicle wasn't completely in the lines of what Pulsar would feel. But they tried it, and after that they introduced a lot of colors and variations in the graphic work, which was more towards gradient type of work. And then they reiterated and they bought out the 220 series, and the year 2012 is where the 200 NS came out. 200 NS, they had a separate designer for this, who was Edgar Heinrich, who's a BMW head of design right now. But the whole idea of the Pulsar series completely again changed its direction from if you say like a 200cc, it's like known as a standard bike. But then this one was more directed towards naked as standard bike, where the mechanical components were more exposed and shown. They were neatly laid out, and they had very good proportions. And in this vehicle, the ergonomics was completely different from the previous vehicles. The material sharing, the components, all this was actually shared from the KTM platform, and also the brakes and components were really good because they are shared from Brembo subsidiary brand called the Bybri. And that's one of the reasons for why I got myself the 200 NS, because it is a completely solid vehicle for the price that I paid for. That's why I got the 200 series, and it is a huge leap as far as if you see the Bajaj brand, because for almost a decade the 220 was ruling the segment, and they had to introduce this so that they could come up with more future proofing, where the 200 NS could actually play a role in covering that. But unfortunately 200 NS didn't pick up as they thought. They gave another iteration to keep up with that brand by changing a few of the parts and components, but it didn't still keep up. The 220 was doing better, the numbers of the 200 NS was less, while the 150 and the 180cc segments were doing fine. The biggest problem which I am seeing right now is, now Bajaj is struggling to sell the 180cc. So what they are doing is they are actually introducing the facial structure of a 220 onto a 180. I feel that is completely like an opposite direction move, because we all know a 220 as a 220 because of that semi-fairing. Now if you're going to change that, all what it looks as a 220 into 180, the whole brand image of a 220 is fallen down to a 180, even though the price is almost the same now from that time. But I mean, that's a complete kill. And followed by that, the introduction of a 160cc NS platform. I mean, have you looked at that? I mean, does it even look proportion? You know, wheels play a very essential part towards a bike styling, and if you're going to put thin legs on a huge body, what the hell will happen? I mean, like, seriously, that was not at all a good move from Bajaj. And they have been trying to downsize and everything. Since the NS was also not doing good, they also did a lot of cost cutting to keep the product in the market so that they don't lose their product. Now it has started gaining a lot of traction. The younger audience wants something new, because there's always like initial hesitance, because this brand is actually more towards concentrated towards the locals, and introducing something new will always distort the market. And after doing that, it was very important for Bajaj to sustain it. So now they have done a bit of cost cutting on 200NS. I can see a lot of plastic components quality has gone down. Just to keep it up and running, they have done all the cost cutting to keep it up, and the price is also very low. But still, it is not what the 200NS was. But for people out there who really love the 200NS, I mean, like, you can still go for it, but saying it's not as good as the previous vehicles, previous meaning the older generation of 200NS. While the 220 at the same time is still doing good numbers because of the fan following base. If you're going to still take forward whether it's the 220 or the 200NS, I mean, both almost do the same performance. When it comes to handling, 200NS would be way better because of the CG. That's the main reason why I went for the 200NS while comparing the 220 and the 200NS. And I feel the way or a brand exercise should be done on Bajaj aspect wise. Like they should concentrate towards how a customer feels about the 220 while downsizing it to a 180 and giving it 220 looks. Will it actually tarnish the 220's brand when they're having 160 when it was not doing good, and then you just bring it down to a let's say like a 200 is being brought down to 160? Is that image getting damaged? The 200, the macho looking bike, is it getting damaged? Because the numbers in that also shot low. They try to bring the AS with the semi fairing to match up to the 220, and I guess that also didn't do well because it's how the customers feel. And they even put a lot of ads showing stunts on the 200NS, and a lot of stunt team taking out the 200NS and stunting on it and saying this is a very reliable bike and all. But at the end of the day, it is how the customers feel, and it's how we feel while buying a vehicle. And I think this is one of the reasons why the upcoming series of vehicles from the Pulsar, like introducing the 150cc, which has been always been 150cc, and then they introduce a 125cc. 125cc is somewhat like a mileage driven vehicle. It wasn't like targeted for male testosterone, because the concept of high powered vehicles is what Pulsar is all about. And then you are introducing a 125cc. I mean, like, what was Pulsar even thinking? I mean, Bajaj as a brand thinking. They're like downsizing, upsizing. So there should be a consistent way, like how they brought up from 2001 till 2012. I hope you guys also see Bajaj as definitely male brand, because the appeal of the 220 is still there because of the advertisements it has. It was not concentrated on stunning completely, but also how it felt. So I would really like to know about you guys, what you feel about the Pulsar brand as such right now. Does it really appeal to you guys? Does it strike macho-ness? Does it strike manliness? Or is it just another brand out there which is having 200cc and competing with other 200cc segments? So yeah, let me know in the comment section below. And also, if you really liked what I was talking about and what I showed in short compilation of today, how the brand as a Pulsar has grown and what is happening to it, maybe you can give it a thumbs up. I might talk about more of these topics. We can get into discussions, and if I get time, I can go down to the showroom, show up the latest vehicles. I will try to cover that up in my motor vehicle review channel. So I'll be just talking about what I feel about the vehicle over here, but in my channel motor vehicle review, which is going to be only specific about what the vehicle is offering and not what I'm actually trying to emphasize on it. You can see what is there on the vehicle, and this is my thoughts, what I'm trying to share. So okay, if you guys liked it, give it a thumbs up. And also, if you want to hear more contents or more related automotive stuff, you can give a subscribe. there'll be more as soon as the corona, I mean, like somewhat settles down. I think I'll be getting my Interceptor by next week. That's what the showroom people told me. And let's see how it goes. I mean, like, hope everyone's staying at home because the situation is still bad, and let's make the best of what we have. So until then, bye.